Hello, everybody. I am currently stuck in traffic at Wolf Trap in Vienna, Virginia, after having just seen Bob Dylan with Jimmie Vaughan and the Tilt-A-Whirl band and Lucinda Williams. So you might see people walking around me. I am stuck in the parking lot, and I thought, why not do the review while it's fresh in my memory? This is my seventh time seeing Bob. He is currently on a summer tour that's not associated with the Rough and Rowdy Ways album that he's been touring under for the last 5-6 years. That's his most recent album, came out in 2021, and he's pretty much been performing the whole album since it came out, other than one track. He's been doing 9 out of the 10 songs every show, and the only exception was during the Outlaw tours that he was doing with Willie Nelson. He was doing more of like a hits/covers show, which was fascinating. This kind of fell in that vein, minus the hits. First of all, people that know me know I'm a massive fan of Bob, and I love him any phase of his career. I've loved the last, especially the last 15 years of his career with the records that he's been putting out. I love the Sinatra records. I love Rough and Rowdy Ways. So many of those songs I love. What is interesting is that he's choosing to do some cover songs on this tour, like Share Your Love With Me, I Can Tell, things like that. You can look up the set list online. Share Your Love With Me is I think Bobby Bland song, which I first learned through Van Morrison, and he pretty much did it true to that version. That was a highlight of the show for me. I thought Bob was in fine voice. People can say what they want all day long about Bob Dylan not being able to sing. I thought it was superb singing tonight. The sound was fantastic. Wolf Trap is a national park for the arts, and it's designed to have the fantastic acoustic sound to it. And I thought it was wonderful. He opened with Watching the River Flow, which came out on the Greatest Hits album, Greatest Hits 2. He did other, Dylan staples. He did It Ain't Me, Babe, which kind of made me a little misty-eyed just hearing it, and it was just so well done. He did Under the Red Sky, which is a really nice cut from the album of the same name, which came out in 1990, kind of between the Wilburys albums. It didn't really have any hits. It had the much maligned song Wiggle Wiggle opening it up, and people consider that to be maybe Dylan's worst song. I don't know. I kind of like it. But yeah, then he did the covers, but then he still did about a third to 2/3. I think it was 2/3 of Rough and Rowdy Ways. He did stuff like Black Rider, Goodbye Jimmy Reed, Crossing the Rubicon, I've Made Up My Mind to Give Myself to You, which was a very different version than the album. What was one of the more fascinating parts of the show was he did When I Paint My Masterpiece, which he's been doing during the Rough and Rowdy Ways tour, which I saw 3 of those shows. And he's done this version a lot, but this version in particular was just fascinating. He has 2 really solid guitar players playing with him. He also has the very, very famous Anton Fig on the drums, who played with all sorts of people on different sessions, and then also worked a lot with Ace Frehley from Kiss. He was on drums, as well as you also had Dylan's sideman, Tony Garnier, who's been with him really since the late 80s. Tony has just been a staple in Dylan's band. And what was cool is during Lucinda Williams' portion of the opening, Tony was walking through the crowd, and he was less than 10 feet from me. But he was on a mission. He was not looking people in the eye, but it was kind of neat to see Tony just walking around without his hat on. It was great. But no, to hear the version of When I Paint My Masterpiece, he did it with a opening that sounded a lot like Putting on the Ritz. And then it kind of went into a chord progression very similar to the song Man Gave Name to All the Animals from the Slow Train Coming album, Bob Dylan's first gospel album in his gospel trilogy. in the late 70s into the early 80s. So that was kind of neat. Again, I've heard that version, but this version in particular sounded great with the new guitarists. This particular tour has kind of had a lot of controversy around it. Bob was wearing a hoodie, which I knew going in, but I'm always worried coming to these shows and worried about what people around me are going to think, and that if the crowd is going to be rowdy and rough and rowdy. They weren't, thankfully. There was a gentleman in front of me who we were just talking. I was wearing my Rough and Rowdy Ways Bob Dylan shirt, and he was just asking me questions about Bob. And he's like, I've never seen him. He was probably in his 70s. He said, what do I expect? He's like, I'm just happy to be here in his presence. And I said, his voice sounds better than it did in the early 2000s. And I think that's universally understood. Bob Dylan did a series of Frank Sinatra / standards albums from about 2018 or 20, that's not right, 20, the last one was Triplicate, which came out in 2018. And then you had Fallen Angels and Shadows in the Night before that, which is fantastic to hear those albums. His voice sounded really, really good, and I think he did a lot to kind of work on his voice. I'm not sure. I think he might have stopped smoking. I don't know that he was smoking cigarettes at that time, but he was doing cigars for sure, and I think he kind of gave up on that, and it's really sounding really good vocally. But he wasn't a hoodie the whole night. The lights were dim on the stage, doesn't talk to the crowd, which I'm very okay with. I don't need an artist talking from the stage. If they do, it's fine, but I don't need it to make the show better for me. So yeah, When I Paint My Masterpiece was a highlight. The version of Jimmy Reed, Goodbye Jimmy Reed, was very, very good. He definitely changed up I've Made Up My Mind to Give Myself to You. That was a really, really nice chord change on that. And yeah, fantastic. Under the Red Sky was also, I loved hearing that live. It was just wonderful to hear him sing that live. Like I said, you had Watching the River Flow. I'm thinking about like the classic Dylan songs. It Ain't Me, Babe. He closed with I Shall Be Released, and that was the only time that he pulled out the harmonica. And I've looked at other shows on this tour, and he's done the harmonica a little bit on Under the Red Sky, which again he did that song, just not with the harp. But it was a wonderful night. I love Wolf Trap. I've been here to see the Avett Brothers and the Filene Center, which is where I was tonight. He's going to be here again tomorrow night at the time of filming this. So he's done 3 nights in a row in Richmond, which is, in Virginia. He did Richmond last night, and then again 2 nights up here in Northern Virginia. So there were 3 chances to see Bob. I was only able to do 1, but I'm very, very happy I did. Lucinda Williams was fantastic. I'd never seen her live. She did about 30 minutes. Her band was really good. She had to have an escort walk her to the stage. I know she's had a stroke and she kind of gave up on major touring, but I know she's going on a tour this fall, which is interesting. And she did Car Wheels on a Gravel Road. She did Can't Let Go, which is a fantastic song from that album. And she closed with a version of Rockin' in the Free World by Neil Young, and that really got the crowd on their feet. She walked out to This Land Is Your Land, the Woody Guthrie version, and she had a few things to say about the current state of the world, and she is not a fan of it, and neither am I. So thank you, Lucinda. Jimmie Vaughan was cool. Jimmie Vaughan, he did, his stuff. The Tilt-A-Whirl Band. He's got a horn section, guitarist, bass, and drums. His rhythm guitarist was struggling a little bit with the amp. There was some issues where he was not able to get any sound out of the amp, but it was fine. I was expecting him to be a little bit more, kind of like his brother, who is Stevie Ray Vaughan. Not the case. It was more groove than complexity, I guess, on the guitar playing. He did do a version of Texas Flood, which kind of was a highlight, I guess, of that set. He played a little bit longer than Lucinda. I think he played about 40 minutes. She played about half an hour. But it was fantastic. I love Bob. I wish that the merch was a little bit better. The merch was kind of terrible. Just generic Bob Dylan t-shirts, no poster. I even brought my poster tube. And I just use that to carry around stuff that I usually carry in my pockets. So yeah, I was hoping for a poster, no poster, but you know, I've got 2 other Bob Dylan posters that I still haven't hung up yet, so maybe it's for the best. But anyway, that's a long review. Let me know if you were at the show. Let me know if you were going to the other shows on this tour. This is just, you know, I love Bob Dylan to death, and if I ever have the chance to see him, I try to see him. Yeah, fantastic. Let me know what you think. In the meantime, everybody, y'all be good, take care, and we will see you on the next one. Bye now.